Hey everyone and welcome back, and I am completely just deflated from the result against Atletico Madrid. I might not look it, but I am absolutely gutted about what happened to us the other night. It was heartbreaking. We did not deserve that. But as I try to do, I try to string out some positives. You know, you've got to take the positives from the negatives. There weren't really negatives from our perspective because we played the perfect game for 30 minutes. But then a referee came along and decided that he wanted things his way. He wanted to take over the headlines, and that's kind of one of the sad things about football. And he'll never be held accountable for it. It's different to Italian FA. They sort of could ban him for our next couple of games, but are we ever going to get this guy in the Champions League again? Probably not. Anyway, two great results since I last spoke to you guys. Two great results against Venezia and Spezia. 6 points out of 6. That's what we wanted. But coming from the Atletico Madrid game, and this isn't a review about that fixture, although I thought we played absolutely phenomenal. Players that stood out: Benacer, Rafael Leao, Brahim Diaz, Fikayo Tomori, the whole defence, to be honest. One thing I've noticed is how we play with a false nine, how we play with Ante Rebic up top. Obviously, when Giroud and when Ibra are injured, which seems to be all the time now, and how we've adapted and how Pioli has adapted this side so well in comparison to how we were playing it last season. And some fixtures of note, especially coming towards the end of last season, were the fixtures against the 7-0 against Torino, the second half against Juventus when Ibra came off in the 3-0 win, the 2-0 against Atalanta, and obviously this season we've seen it against Lazio with a 2-0 victory, with the first half an hour against Atletico Madrid. And obviously, kind of pretty much most of this season that we've done so well in so far, that we've had to play with a false nine. And there's many pros and a few cons about it. Obviously, you're not going to get... You want your best centre-forwards to play. They're our top earners of the club, Ibra and Giroud. We do lack, obviously, a bit of height when it comes to the side. But we'll talk about that later on. But I feel like there's many pros to it. And I kind of just want to break things down. And I'll just give you my best way of analysing how this team works when we play with a false nine. And really, are we more effective when we do play with a false nine? So firstly, before you jump on my back saying, Steph, we struggled so much playing with a false nine last year, when Ibra went down and we started dropping points and we went off the top of the table. Yes, we did, because we just weren't used to it. We were banking so much of Ibra being there. We just weren't used to playing a certain way without a centre forward. What's changed since last year? Firstly, Rafael Leao is no longer the false nine. He plays on the left. That's Ante Rebic's job now. That allows Leao a bit more fluidity, a bit more, he doesn't have to play with his back to centre defenders, which he clearly doesn't like. He wants to, run into space, run at the fullbacks who are, not as good defensively as the centre backs. Rebic, he thrives off that sort of hunger, that, winning loose balls and just chasing down men. He wants all that part of his game. Also, we have to look at players like Brahim Diaz, who has thrived from this. He's someone that does well driving the ball forward when it comes to, counter-attacks, when it comes to in possession, dropping the ball from deep, you can collect it from deep. Also playing very close to the centre forward, in and around the area. He thrives off that a lot more better than Hakan Çalhanoğlu, who struggled with kind of keeping the speed in our attacks, speed in our counter-attacks. He killed a lot of our attacks, to be honest, if we look back to it. So I feel like a lot of players, there's a few personal changes which allows this formation to thrive a little bit more. So we still adapt to playing a 4-2-3-1 when it comes to, if you play FIFA or you play Pro Evolution Soccer or Football Manager, that's our base formation because that's how it looks on paper. But I've mentioned this many times before, it never judge a book by its cover, and this has to be taken into account when it comes to us. Defensively, yes, it's kind of predictable because, yes, we drop into a 4-5-1. The reasons why when we play with a false nine that this is much more effective is because Rebic drops into the midfield, making it much more compact. We saw how we played against Juventus when they went 1-0 up. Morata and Dybala, that's what you get when all your players are playing behind the ball. We make it compact, and if you have options to counter-attack because you have players of speed, it's there is a danger for the other side to deal with. And that is something that happens when Rebic is playing because we have everyone dropping in deep. Rebic, Brahim Diaz, Salamakers, Teo, Rafael Leao. And as soon as we get that ball back, we have people that can run at players and, create isolation one-on-one plays. So defensively, we're kind of covered in this 4-5-1 and it works out much better because rather than the centre forwards, for example, Giroud or Ibra hanging around up top with the centre backs, that centre forward, that false nine is now deeper, which, you can see that negatively because, we haven't got that outlet up front. But really, if we're collecting the ball, it just makes things a bit more compact and allows us to build up the attack much more quicker, much more effectively, and rather than just hoofing the ball forward. Now, in attack, this is really where I love how these all interlink in attack. And it's not too kind of like different to how we play with a natural centre forward like Ibra and Giroud. The setup's near enough the same, but it's kind of what the false nine does. And it's a really weird concept when it comes down to how our flat formation looks and how it really looks when it comes to the pitch. What you'll see is many a times, especially if a team's on a high press, our centre backs will go wide. Stretch the pitch a little bit as wide as they can. The centre midfielder, one of the centre midfielders will drop in to give an option to Mignon, especially when it comes to creating the ball. Creating attacks from deep from a goal kick, to obviously draw out some of their opposition attackers. So yeah, we kind of play with a back three when it comes to it being in sort of like possession or an attack. So you've got your centre mid in between, sandwiched in between the two centre backs. You also then get that other centre mid who also kind of play this natural position, play quite close to the other centre mid, just in case he does lose possession, he's able there to help out defensively. And then what you have in front of that is kind of just where it comes just completely brilliant. You have your two wing backs, well, not wing backs, they might as well be wing backs, to be honest, how high up the pitch they can play when it comes to attacking phases. Obviously Calabria, Theo Hernandez, they don't shy away from defensive work, but obviously when it comes to attacking, they just know how to get forward and create overlapping runs. And this is really where it gets quite interesting. Brahim Diaz is someone who likes to just collect the ball, whether it's from deep, just float around the pitch quite well. And he's part of this quartet up front with Rafael Leao and Salamakers and Rebic and obviously Diaz. They are able to interchange their positions so well. Firstly, Leao and Salamakers are able to cut inwards. They like to collect the ball from that sort of like those half spaces to allow the overlapping runs to go beyond them. That does us justice because it makes us less static, less predictable. Allows them to be closer to the false nine and be closer to Brahim Diaz. And you see it's quite a lot in games. You see a lot of triangle passes. You see a lot of 1-2s. We draw out defences quite well. We draw out midfields quite well because of this. Rebic as well. He's someone who's able to adapt his position. It doesn't just keep him up front, rooted as a centre forward. He's able to swap positions at will when it comes to just sort of like 1-2s with the players. He likes to get involved with that. Things just naturally evolve when it comes to our attack, much more fluidly, much more instinctively, and it just looks like better possessions of phases of attack. That's how it kind of like maps out when it comes to the... Obviously, there's different... I can only do it so much justice. There's different ways it can happen, and I'm not going to break it down as like the best tactical analysis people can do, but it's one of the many reasons why I do like it, how we play in this formation. But if you kind of take out Rebic and what he does as a false nine and throw in a centre forward, things become a bit more predictable when it comes to what that centre forward can offer. But there are some differences because he can offer a bit more hold-up play, he can offer a bit more of an aerial threat, and obviously sometimes he can be just a bit more clinical because he is a centre forward. So yeah, guys, I'm not saying that we should go to a false nine as our sort of our go-to formation, because I want to see our centre forward start. There's definitely more options that they offer us when it comes to aerial threats, when it comes to clinical finishing, a lot more. I do feel like sometimes, because obviously we don't have centre forwards on the pitch, we do waste a lot of opportunities. We saw it the other day with Rebic and the one-on-one. If that's a centre forward in that position, he's really burying that away. But I do feel like there are benefits. We are more fluid, in my opinion. I keep using the word fluid when it comes to our sort of build-up plays, and we're much less predictable. You're not quite sure what player's going to be in what position at what time. These are all players that also like to play with the ball to feet, and I feel like there's a sort of synergy with the side that all kind of want to play that sort of way, rather than sort of rush it to get it to the centre forward, whether it's Ibra or Giroud. And the energy that we have, that when we're defending much more deeper with another, the centre forward dropping into the midfield, let alone what it offers us on the counter attack with much more energy on the one-on-one isolation opportunities. It allows us that more protection. I feel like we're just defending a lot more better as a collective. So yeah, there's many reasons why I feel like there are sort of benefits to when we play like that. So like it's sort of, I'm just trying to get that all is not lost when Ibra and Giroud go down. I still feel like we can play very expansive football, effective football, and kind of come out of any game with a win, obviously, as long as a ref doesn't send off our players. And I would say mainly this system works when we play teams that want to press high. And obviously it's clear when it doesn't work. When teams want to sit back with deep defences, especially if they get a 1-0 lead, it's really hard to break that down, because you sometimes you just need that centre forward who is going to, you know, keep the opponents guessing, maybe to have two people marking it at a given time. They're going to keep the defending team that we're playing against are going to keep the pitch quite compact, which is harder for us to get those spaces in between the lines. Puts so much pressure on our moves being 100% perfect. Rather than, say, like if we're playing a high pressing side, there's much more space to expose. We have the players that expose players when it comes to, you know, spaces. Rafael Leao, Brahim Diaz, Rebic as well. We have the pace there, so they have to thrive from getting into those opportunities and spaces. So we're kind of seeing where it does work in the Champions League nights, because teams like Atletico and Liverpool are willing to press higher and put us under the cosh. Obviously, Liverpool was a game where we were just completely, just battered, to be honest. But they're one of the top fives in Europe. But Atletico Madrid is an example where this can work so well, because the whole team, like I use the word synergy, we're working to the one collective and getting the ball forward, and the moves in attack are just much more fluid. Fluid's going to be the word of the day for tonight. But that's it basically, guys. I just wanted to talk about one positive when it came to the Atletico Madrid game, which something I noticed is that we're doing quite well when it just being quite effective with the false nine formation, and whenever Ibra and Giroud are down, I don't feel like all is lost. And going into the game on the weekend, I don't know if Giroud's going to start. It doesn't look like he's in, you know, prime fitness for it. Rebic, you know, barely played half an hour in the game against Atletico. I feel like he's raring to go. So I'm kind of feel like we can go to Atalanta and get a good result, because we've just proven, and Pioli's proven, how he can make this system work so well with the false nine. So that's it, guys, for today. I wish we got that result against Atletico Madrid, but, you know, things happen. But yeah, I'm going to wrap things up. Until next time, guys, Forza Milan.